Today we need to talk about the Ultralisk. I'm sick and tired of for 13 years in StarCraft 2 there being a gargantuan space cow unit that is completely badass, and yet people keep telling me that it's super weak and you only build them when you want to lose. You're telling me that this unit is bad and you only build this when you want to lose? All right, I mean, look at that. Come on. Come on. They ignore siege tank shots. They can beat a landed Viking, and they just roll over everything. The Ultralisk is one of the coolest units ever. It is a gigantic armored beast, and this unit gets way too much flack that it does not deserve. In this video, we're going to be talking about exactly what is so incredibly powerful about the Ultralisk, and why people have been looking past it, saying, oh, it's weak in pro play this whole time. We're going to show you why it's only weak in certain situations, and there is a new build that completely finds its way around those situations. So this realization for me all started about a month ago during Masters Coliseum when Serral brought out one of the coolest builds I have ever seen. And I always have been, I've been arguing for Ultras for ages. I've been saying, if you're not playing against top tier players who are amazing at Ghost Turtle, Ultras are amazing. The last person, though, I would have ever said they're good versus is against Maru, because he's a king of ghosts in late game. But look at the game timer. It is 8 minutes 30 and Chitinous Plating is kicking in. This is a 1-1. He's always got +2 carapace, Ultralisk timing, and he crushes this 8 racks. A single Viper, some Roach Ravager from the early game, and 4 Ultras come in from all sides with a beautiful surround. And this is an absolutely stunning build, which it's just been living rent-free in my head. And even though I've been super out of practice recently, I couldn't resist but take this on the ladder and see what the hell is good about this build and how do you make it work. So we're going to go straight from there into a game of myself playing the build on the ladder, trying it out with a few adjustments and seeing how it goes, because getting Ultras out at 8 minutes 30 sounds amazing, but actually getting there sounds a lot harder than that, because otherwise ladder would be a bit easier and simpler than we think. This is me in the top right up against Sverzando, don't know how to say that, in the bottom left. Now, I'm doing a 15 hatchery, 15 pool build. So this is very important to make this build work. For those who don't know, basically, you go for the extractor trick to get an extra drone out. You then go down here, build a hatchery on 15 supply. You then go for another extractor trick in the main base. Now, if you guys haven't seen this 15 hatch, 15 pool build, go check it out on my channel. There's a link down below in the description. We've done 2 videos about this. My first time realizing this was a build when Eric beat Dark with it. I then shared that around with a lot of pros, asked their opinions on it. Most of them said, maybe some potential for some situations, but probably not really that good. Seems like you just have less money. Since then, we've seen Serral win multiple tournaments with this build being an integral part. I'm going to go for a spawning pool there, and it looks like I am looking for a proxy Rax. I guess this player must have proxy Rax Marine all into me earlier on this day. This is I don't even remember this, but I guess this must happen because it's the only time I would ever drone scout with this build. Interesting. Maybe a little bit traumatized. We've got a sporting pool going up behind, and then we want to take a gas at a minute 25. So just to remind you guys, 15 hatchery, 15 overlord, 15 spawning pool, okay? And then just drone on up, 125 gas. You only want to put 2 workers on the gas, and then you want to rally straight down to your natural expansion. So this is like a one-size-fits-all build order. You go 4 queens into a lair and roaches off 2 base, with a 3rd base starting at about 340, 350, somewhere about there. So it's a pretty late 3rd base. But your 2 mineral lines are filling up on drones a lot quicker than normal, because this hatchery is over 10 seconds earlier than normal, which means, guess what? It produces lava faster. So you get an extra lava or 2 off the hatchery. Then your queens are 10 seconds faster, which means your injects are also 10, 11 seconds. It's more like 10 to 12 seconds, by the way. I'm saying 10 seconds for simplicity. But basically, you get a ton of extra lava out of this build, but you can't afford to get the 3rd base at the same time. So there's a bit of give and take. It's not objectively just better or anything like that, but it's very good if you're planning to like tech up really hard on 2 base, for instance. So you're gonna go straight for a 3rd and 4th queen. We go double inject. Where's that 3rd and 4th queen? There we go, starting there. We just build 2 lings out of our natural, nothing else, guys. And you want to try and poke in and deny the SCV building the command center. Because my opponent skipped the Reaper, we're not able to do that. So what's really cool, right, is with this build order, the Ultras were out at 8.5 minutes. That's going to be our goal. But my opponent in this game is going to put on some very heavy pressure. And I don't realize that's coming until a bit too late. So we've got a second and third barracks already on the way. And this was reactor first, no Reaper, no SCV scout. So my opponent is doing a super greedy build. This dies to so much stuff, right? But, hey, Zergs don't do that stuff very often because most people don't play this greedy. So just freaking go for it, man. We've got double tech lab on the way. He's just going to get away with like the fastest, most brutal stim timing ever. Now at 44 supply, when your 4th queen pops out, you start the layer in the main. You keep droning up and building during your injects. That's the main thing, right? Still fundamentals of economy. Inject, drone, overlord, inject, drone, overlord. But once you've taken that layer at 44 supply, you get a second and third gas and a roach horn by about 3 minutes, 30 to 340. My roach horn's a little bit later this game, and then you want to go straight for the third base after that. So my drone should already be going towards that third. Now, I still don't know what I'm up against, guys, and that is a big problem, because even though I saw Marines out of the reactor, and I was like, oh, you know what? This could be a 3-rack. So I was thinking it could be like a 3-racks attack or something. I'll have to be careful. Notice my overlord sitting on the pillar for safety. I don't realize just how efficient this can be off a reactor first build. And look at that. Quick third command center before any tech behind this. My third base is about 20 to 30 seconds later than normal this game. Normally, guys, you go for the third base, then the 4th gas. So just keep that in mind. I'm doing things a bit awkwardly. And as soon as your layer's done, start roach speed and get an overseer and go scout. So I'm like, okay, we've got to scout. I've got to confirm what the hell this actual build order is. And because I've got 43, 44 drones, I'm on 2 bases. Let's just mass those roaches now, okay? Note, guys, I forgot to put the worker back on gas. When you start your layer, you're meant to put a 3rd worker on this gas. I forget to do this for the entire game. So, shh. Do as I say, not as I do. Overseer's going to come in right now. Svazando is coming out with a giant marine army. My changeling sees it, and I'm like, whoa! Okay, it is a 3-racks, and I'm like, oh, okay. And even then, I think, oh, I'm going 2-base roach. 2-base roach is so safe. But what I need to do here is immediately morph Ravagers. Because remember, Ravagers take a long time to morph right now. I need to just make as many Roaches, Overlords, and Ravagers as I can. Instead, I'm building a drone right now. I am making some Ravagers and Roaches, but remember, they take 12 seconds to morph now. The Ravager does, and I'm kind of blocking that right now. The Queens and the Roaches are up front. If these 4 Ravagers were morphed, I'd be able to hold on, but I can't. And this is the classic example of you see a pro do a cool build, you try to do it, and then your opponent just effing kills you. Is this not every time you've tried a pro build order out there? This is it, right? You're like, oh man, I just died to some stuff. But that's part of the process. I've been playing this game for years, and I understand that that's what's going to happen. You don't know the ins and outs. You don't realize just how stiff that timing could be. If I had those 4 Ravagers morphed, I could have spread Biles in front, and he wouldn't have been able to stim on top of me like that. Now, though, I just took a terrible fight. I lost 7 drones, Roaches, Ravagers, Queens. So I'm going to go push across with Roach Speed and try to do damage, because normally you have a very powerful push timing with Roach Speed off this opening, where you can potentially just straight up kill them with a 2-base Roach roll in. For me, of course, though, I've got a very quick Evo into Infestation bet behind it. Now, if it was a Hellion opening, I would have built the Evo and the Infestation both on 4 minutes 30 to 4 minutes 50. So pre-5 minutes. I'm going for this build much slower because my opponent's doing a highly aggressive build. And remember, at its core, rushing Ultralisk is a very greedy tech rush, right? It's like rushing battle cruisers or Mutalisks or something. If your opponent's doing a faster all-in than is standard, you're going to need to adjust the build order. And we're doing that on the fly. And you can tell we took all this damage because I didn't do it perfectly. But that's something that'll come with experience. And this is one of the big falling off points of this build order. I said, you know, I'd be talking about what makes this build good, but also where it falls apart. Well, it falls apart if your opponent has 0 fear and just fucking attacks you with some crazy YOLOs, and you're just being too greedy because you're trying to drone a 3rd base and go for a Hive at the same time. That being said, notice I squeeze Infestors into the build. And the earlier you get out 1 or 2 Infestors, the better you can shut down these sort of Marine moves. Now, you can't do that against that first 3-racks push, but later pushes with Medivacs, or if someone goes for Hellions, 3rd command center into Biopressure, your Infestors will always be ready in time to stop that. But notice we're fully droning the 3rd base. We're getting a 2nd evolution chamber soon after starting the Hive. So we should be going melee, and we should also be starting Ling Speed around the time that 2nd Evo starts up, because we don't want to stay on mass Roach, right? You have to build Roach Ravager for a little bit. We want to go into Zerglings and get a few Infestors out. I'm going to 4 Infestors because I'm in love with Infestors, and I really think they're very good for holding your opponent back and buying time for those Ultras to get out. But we want to go Ling, Ultra, Infesta is kind of the main comp we'd like to go. Potentially you can add Vipers if they've got a lot of tanks, but just using one Spellcaster I think is already enough for most people. And if you guys don't like Spellcasters, you can do this without the Spellcasters. Just rely on more Roach Ravager to keep you safe and try to go straight to Ultras. But I think getting a few Infestors is a massive game changer, and I really advise it. Unfortunately, my Overseer just got killed there. We've already getting pushed back, but notice he's afraid to move up the ramp. So I'm trying to zone with both Fungal and Corrosive Bile and scare him from fighting me. My Link Speed's not ready. My Ultra Cavern hasn't even started. I'm under so much pressure right now, and I'm like, God damn it. This attack is not what I wanted to be facing against in this game. I queued up the Ravagers to run in and Corrosive Bile, so we do take out the tank down there. I don't want to lose this hatchery, though, and he's shoving in right now. Because I'm refusing to fight, he pushes in a bit too aggressively and accidentally loads a medevac. Notice the Fungals are going out, spread across this front line, but I derp out and my Infestors get stuck in front of my army. A bit of a mistake there. Despite that, the Roach Ravager with some slow Zerglings in the mix actually do really well. And remember, I was way behind after the previous fight. We're about even trading after that, which doesn't sound great, and it's not like God tier, but we've got the Ultra Tech on the way. And this is an example of, guess what? Serral had 4 Ultras with Kindness Plating and 1-2 upgrades. We're just starting 1-2 and our Ultra Cavern. I'm way behind. But I think why I'm showing you guys this replay is because your games aren't going to be as clean as Serral's game. Serral's game, to give you guys context, was all about he had Roach all-in Maru a few times. He'd punished him off that 15-15 opening. And because this opening is the same opening piece, he knew Maru would be very scared of a potential 2-base Roach push. He built like 4 Roaches and just went straight to Hive and Ultras. And then Maru went for a big 3-base 8-Racks push, and he just barely got the Ultras out in time, gave up his front base, and then he was good. Look at that. Fungal to catch the Marines, make it really hard for them to be aggressive. We're on 4 bases, 78 drones. Kindness Plating needs to start. I'm very lazy on that. I'm just going to cast the rest of this game. We'll give you guys more analysis at the end about the Serral game. Pull those Zerglings back, Pig. Don't fight down there. No. Okay, not a great fight for me. But if he stays there, he'll get fungled. So he has to pull up. And once he pulls up, we can just leave a handful of units in the main. Everything else can come down the bottom. I do want to take a 5th, but of course, taking it right there was a little bit gambly. And I'm going to have to just chill, make some Ultras, and try to spend my money. Notice I'm floating a lot of money right now in this game. Under pressure from these units, unfamiliar with this build, and being late on my tech timings is really making me feel like I'm not in a great position. And yet, I have belief in the power of Ultras, because when those Ultras hit the field, if your opponent has mass Ghost, you're screwed. Well, he's got 8 racks, guys. He's got a Ghost Academy. Surely I'm screwed. No. If he has planetaries everywhere, if he has mass orbital, that's when Ultras fall off quite hard. It's when the Terran... Remember in that cinematic, the Ultras charging down a big open path and just... So is all the Zerg rolling over them. Imagine that cinematic, but put 3 planetaries in that road in front of the tanks. And why are those tanks in front of a big open square? Put a bunch of planetaries and depots and buildings and put ghosts there sniping the Ultras by shooting them in the eyeballs. It's a very different cinematic. And a lot of Zergs have this mindset, well, that's why Ultras are bad. But man, you have screwed up so much if you let them get there! He walks into the fungal growth, a crazy aggressive push from my opponent. That's what he had success with earlier by shoving in with that 3-racks build. The 2 pushes previous did so well because my opponent had no fear and just shoved in like a psychopath. My army finally realizes there's a tank on the low ground and does decide to deal with it. But you can see now the units lost have 800 in my favor, which means we've turned the resource count lost by about 2,000 in my favor. Because I was down 1,000, now I'm up 1,000. And we've got anabolic synthesis. That's the Ultra Speed on the way. Taking a 5th base, Spire to help deal with drops and Liberators, because we know that's what our opponents do at this point. But the Ultras are now going to be dominating the ground fight. We've got 1-2 versus 2-1. We've got +3 Carapace, Adrenal being remembered. We've got Ling's going to try to run over to that left side. Unfortunately, I'm going to find a finished planetary there, which is a pretty good economy for the Terran. But I've got Ultras, I've got Infestors, I'm going to add Corruptors for anti-air, and this is a very, very, very good army. And even though Ghosts can counter Ultras pretty well, if you get the correct engagement, Ultraling can always get on top and stop those snipes from happening. Now, that is a big ball of Marauders as well. Marauders are also quite good against Ultras. If you're getting Ultras out at that earlier time of 8:30 I was talking about, there's going to be mostly Marines, and Marines kind of suck against Ultras. Marauders, though, are quite good, which is why I'm biding my time, and I'm doing what you do with Ultras, guys, which is you wait in the open to ambush your opponent. If your opponent stumbles out into the open, they're going to be screwed. If you hit them from 2 sides, or if you land a fungal, and look at those kills. We get a Ghost, we get a bunch of Marauders, and I'm at this point realizing, okay, he keeps trying to pull back up choke points. This is where every Zerg player complains about Ultras. They're like, oh, they just die. Yeah, if I aim move up that ramp, they're going to all die. But what if I fucking actually spread my units out and come in from 2 sides? Now, unfortunately, I'm leaving my infestors on the front. They all get impeded. Oh, that was not good for me. But on the other hand, at this point, I've identified my opponent has what I refer to as a permanent uncontrollable stiffy. Basically, my opponent is so aggressive right now. He's stimming into me, over-stimming. I'm landing fungals all over him, and I'm flanking in. So not only did I get a good fight down there, now we're flanking in from the left. And the thing is, anytime they move into any open area and you come from two sides, Ultra Ling is so insanely effective. I didn't even land very big fungals in that fight. But dude, it was great. Now, chasing up this ramp was unnecessary. We lose a lot of Ultras there, which I could have pulled back and maybe transfused. I have 6 queens with lots of energy. I'm forgetting a lot of injects at this point because I'm building Ultras. The other great thing about Ultras I haven't told you guys yet, guess what? Guess what? You don't need to inject very well. You're like, oh, I've got lots of money. Hold the Ultra key down. You only need like 10 lava to make 60 supply. It's crazy. Ultras are such a noob-friendly unit. The fact that Serral showed that if you get them at a fast enough timing, they're still incredibly powerful at pro play is awesome. I've been using them for years and talking about how good they can be, but the fact that Serral showed this incredibly fast build order for them showed they have massive potential. Now look, he's trying to catch me. I'm like, okay, let's just get those infestors out of there. The Lings, I'm like, okay, I'll just sacrifice. It's mostly Lings and Roaches. I don't really care about this army. We're killing a lot of SCVs here. It's a ladder game, but 18 SCVs, depots going down. I do have burrow. I should have burrowed some of these Zerglings around to bait out some scans and stuff. This is an accidental misrally, guys. We've accidentally misrallied 2 Ultras in. As you can see, they're on move command. Not my best move, not my proudest move. What can I say? They kill a siege tank. They get two Ultras for 2 tanks is a bad trade. But you know what, guys? I've realized I missed macroing. So I've pressed what we call the new button, and I'm building 11 new Ultralisks while just spreading creep, occasionally doing an inject. I'm adding Neural Parasite because I've realized, hey, I've got burrowed infestors by them. I might as well mix that in. And this is such a satisfying style because it feels like, yes, I was on the back foot early. This was a really bad start for me. And generally, you're trying to rush Hive, you're going to be in a weak position. But the moment you get infestors out, look at what they can do. And that's why the new infestor makes this build even stronger. Even though Serral did it pre-patch, it's even stronger post-patch. Ultras are 25 minerals cheaper. Infestors start with 75 energy. This build actually got a massive buff in the last patch. And boy, does it rock. Once you get those Ultras out, it's like, don't get me wrong, there is a challenge with this build. You are trying to survive. And if you mess up like I did, the game's going to be a lot harder than it needs to be. I want to iterate one more time. If you Overseer Scout this early every game, though, how many attacks are going to kill you without you being ready if you get an Overseer Scout in their base at 4 minutes 40 every game? There's no excuse. People are like, oh, but I don't know how to react. You see a big ball of Marines, you make as much Roach Ravager as you can. Guys, if I morph these 2 into Ravagers right now, and then if I morph that guy into a Ravager, these guys into Ravagers, guess what? They would have been ready. That would have been 5 minutes and 4 seconds. They would have been morphed and ready by 5:12 at the latest. We'd be dropping biles on this ramp in front of it. We'd be stutter stepping backwards, and these Marines would get wrecked. And imagine if we don't lose. Remember, what did I lose here, guys? Those 2 queens, multiple Ravagers, multiple Roaches. Not just that, I also lose a bunch of drones. 7 drones go down as well. I'm on 36 workers at 5.5 minutes. This is a disaster of an opening. And that's why I wanted to show you guys this game, because this is not the clean, oh, look, everything went perfectly. I want to go back and show you guys this Serral game, because this is like an example of, remember what I was explaining? Everything went perfectly in this game because Maru was scared of the Roach push. So if we look at Serral's build, guys, it's 5:14. He's starting a Hive. Carapace is already almost halfway done. Ling speed starting. He's droning up. And he's about to take a 4th base on the Rich Gas base. And he's doing this all off like 4 Roaches, which he split into 2 pairs to scare the Hellions away from clearing creep. It's like, it's insane how greedy Serral got away with. And it's great because it reminded me, hey, we can push the envelope. We can go as friggin' hard as possible and get to that tech really, really early. Problem, you're not going to have a game like this. Remember, I got hit at 5 minutes with friggin' 25 Stim Marines. Serral would have had to build a lot of units if he was in that scenario in this game. So there are different scenarios you're going to come into. But what I love is the fact that these power spikes are, I think, little respected and understood. And once you realize how powerful Fungal is, especially just building 1 or 2 infestors after your Hive starts, like, you get a few infestors out, you have some Roach Ravager, it's a very good defensive army. It's something that Terrans naturally back away from that and are afraid of that force. And especially if your opponent's a player who respects it and backs off, you can be very greedy. And if they are someone who doesn't respect it and just tries to YOLO into you, you can take incredibly good defensive fights with Ravager and Fester. And that's what's so beautiful about this style. And I really feel that it's Ultras are 25 minerals cheaper and Festers are better than ever. I'm going to be doing this build so much. A lot of people complained about the Baneling nerfs. I'm just generally not that big of a fan of Banelings and relying on them. So for me, it's so exciting to do this style. And I also feel like even though I've said Ultras are good in various situations, I've seen a different level of refinement, and the smoothness of how this build comes off this 4-Queen 15-15 opening is great. But even better, next time someone says pros never use it, it's noob, shut up pig, and uses that argument to authority, I can point at this game and go, Serral did it. Serral beat Maru. He made him look like a chump. This game was pretty straightforward from when he holds his 8 racks push, guys. It's over from there. Like, it is super one-sided after that point. Maru just can't deal with the Ultras. He doesn't have a 4th command center. He doesn't have ghosts. There's Ling run bys getting in, tries to do his little desperate counter drops. Like I said, this is why I always go Corruptors after the Ultras, because they always try to do sneaky little counter drops and stuff. But any moment when the Ultras get on top, man, they just rip his bio to shreds. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this build. If you guys want to play it or you want to check out, the cast of Maru vs. Serral, the 15-15 build videos, links to those videos, as well as the write-ups of this opening, the Ultra transition, and the other transitions off of that same Serral opening, they're down below in the Book of Filth. So check out the description. There's a bunch of links for you there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Ultras. Is this pig getting overhyped over a Space Cow unit that he's been trumping up for the last few years and it's actually still bad and it still sucks? Or is it actually legit and you're going to give it a go? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye and good night.